If I could just add a supplementary biographical note. Lenny said I'm an educator. My background was originally in something we call adult and popular education. I still think of myself as a historian. I'm a researcher, and I call my particular approach auto/biographical narrative research. It's a real mouthful, I know, but I'll say a bit more about that as we go on. And in that kind of work, I do draw on psychoanalytic and psychosocial insights. Lenny said I'm a psychoanalytic psychotherapist too, and a political activist, or at least I was a political activist in earlier phases of my life. I was even once a parliamentary candidate. So all of these different aspects of who I am shape, I think, in myriad ways, the talk I'm going to give. My basic argument is that the troubling world of politics would benefit greatly from the application of perspectives from a socially and culturally informed psychoanalysis, simply to illuminate why politics is so troubling, and how and why we are all, every one of us, to an extent, defended subjects. Yet I also want to suggest that apparently intractable political conflict sometimes lessens in small and beautiful ways when we apply psychoanalytically informed practice. My political focus in the talk tonight is on the rise of fascism and pockets of Islamic fundamentalism in working class communities in the United Kingdom, and the Israeli-Jewish-Palestinian tragedy. Disturbance like this, I think, really does need more in-depth understanding of how dialogue and self-other recognition, as I call it, break down or can be nurtured in fractured and fractious settings. And these issues also trouble, I think, overly rigid boundaries between politics and the couch. Troubles are, of course, fundamental to the human condition and the psychoanalytic project, but troubles can still take us by surprise. In politics, clinical work, in the classroom, or in a psychoanalysis and politics group discussion. I was troubled in the July 2022 planning meeting of this particular group. Someone observed, rightly, that we shouldn't assume psychoanalysts are progressive in their politics. Some will be Trump supporters, it was said. Quite, if troubling. I was reminded of the uneasy historical relationship between psychoanalysis and progressive politics, and long-standing anxieties as to whether psychoanalysis should overly concern itself with politics at all. Freud was inconsistent on the subject. Clearly, he wanted psychoanalysis to be recognized as clinical science, in which the troubling messiness of politics, war, and culture would be secondary to the troubling enough intrapsychic world of sexual drives and innate capacity for destructiveness. Whatever. A general decline in the radical psychoanalytic impulse, more or less from its inception, is chronicled in various writing. In part, this later had to do with the rise of Nazism and the emigration, as some authors see it, of radical analysts, people like Edith Jacobson and Otto Fenichel, for instance, the United States.